start with, where am I going to start? Chapter 5, verse 1 and 2, just real quickly. Give everybody a minute to turn to it. Y'all got it?
Yes, sir.
All right. God, we just thank you once again for the opportunity to come before your throne. We just thank you for the blessings thereof. Just pray that you just open our eyes that we may see, our ears that we may hear, our heart that we may obtain, more importantly, our voice that we may share. In Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen.
This morning I want to do something a little different. I was thinking about this the last few weeks, and I was trying to kind of tie it together the best I could, but I'm just going to kind of go with it and see what y'all say. But I'm going to begin out of Exodus 5, verse 1 and 2, and this is, and it says, and afterwards, this is after God spoke to Moses, it says, and afterwards Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is this Lord, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go. Amen.
Amen.
Now, the reason I want to start with that is because that's really kind of where it all started, in those famous words, let my people go. What I want to do today is I want to talk a little bit about the Exodus and the concept of it and everything, and how the promise of it and God's promises to us, sometimes they're not fulfilled right away. We have to go through stages of it, and we get discouraged. And as we read through the Exodus, you know, the children of Israel, of course we all know, they got discouraged and didn't even get to go in the promised land. You know, the children got to go. But what I want to talk about today, and it's really been on my mind and my heart, is the point of from the beginning to when Pharaoh actually let them go. And so I'm going to read it real quickly. The promise, where the promise began, is actually in chapter 3. And I'm going to just read real quickly. It says, and now, this is talking to Moses, you know, after he had left, he had fled, and he went and he became a sheep farmer. And he's up there, and the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in the flaming bush. And he looked, and behold, and anyway, you get down, and God wanted to talk to him. So he says, moreover, he said, I am God. This is God talking to him. He says, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. And then the Lord said, I have surely seen the afflictions of my people, which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And then it goes, and I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land unto a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Aramites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivitites, and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppressions wherewith the Egyptians oppress them. So we see the promise. God's telling Moses, hey, I'm going to deliver them. You know, I'm going to give him this promise. I'm going to deliver him. And then, of course, Moses is like, oh, that's good. And then all of a sudden he says, and Moses said unto God, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel? So we have a promise, and then we have the person that's supposed to help the promise question himself, question what's going on. So what I was thinking about this, I was thinking, you know, whatever the promise is, whether it's just the promise of salvation, of the eternal life, it's a promise God gave us, you know, the promise that you're going to get a job, or you're going to get a new car, your children are going to come back to the Lord, or whatever it may be, or just a comfort through your sicknesses. We get these promises, and God, you know, sometimes it's through the Word, sometimes it's through the burning bush, God speaks to us, sometimes it's through someone else speaks to us, we get a word of prophecy, we get a word of encouragement. And a lot of times we get wrapped up into that, and we expect that to happen the next day. And I'm pretty sure Moses when he said, Lord, I can't do this, I stutter, have this speech impediment, and he goes, well, then take Aaron, Aaron will go with you and he'll talk for you. You just go do what I tell you to do. I'm pretty sure Moses figured, because I probably would. I thought, okay, God told me to go talk to Pharaoh. Told me I'll be ready, I'll prepare you, I'm going to walk in there. Pharaoh's going to say, okay, take the people, we'll see you later. But when we got to what we read earlier in chapter 5, he said, oh no, who's this God that you're telling me about? I don't know him. Know you? I don't know anybody. Get out of here. So I'm thinking, just because I probably would have walked out the deal and thought, oh God, did I hear him? I know I saw the bush burning, but did I really hear him? And we go through this a lot of times, especially with the promises that we have, because a lot of times we're such a demanding people, especially generations of now. I mean, everything's just so quick. We got our new phones. I remember, our old flip phone, you had to walk around and look for service, and now you just push button and everything pops up. It's the old cliche, just Google it, Yeah, okay, 5 seconds, or YouTube, they'll show you how to park your car, But back in the day, I'm pretty sure he just probably would have thought, man, I just go in there, Pharaoh's going to let everybody go, I'm going to gather everybody up, and we're just going to leave. But he didn't. And so I'm pretty sure, Moses, he's a grown man, he's done all these things, I'm pretty sure he's walking out that and thinking, my God, what's going on? And we do that so much in our lives, and we do that, especially when we get promised, because we believe, especially I don't want to say doctrine or denomination, but the type of the church that we attend, we believe in everything. In a sense, we do. We believe in the speaking in tongues. We believe in healing. We believe in prophecy. We believe that God speaks to us audibly, that we can be meditating, we can be praying, and we can be reading the Word, and God speaks to us. Now, there's a lot of denominations that don't believe that, but we do. We believe that God can do anything.
Yes.
Believe that if someone come in with a wheelchair and it's God's will and God has the power moving and the Holy Spirit is moving, and at that time God can raise them up.
Yes.
Raise people from dead. We believe that.
Yes.
So a lot of times that's our downfall, because we get to a point in our lives that we know that God can do anything, which He can. He says, I created all. 1,000 hills or cows on the hill. I did all this. So we get to the point in our lives to where we think, okay, God can do it. Well, when He don't do it, then we're like, okay, God, what happened? Then we get to the next point. The next day, it's like, well, it still didn't happen. And as we see, Moses kept going back. He kept going back, and he kept going back. And I'm pretty sure every time he left, he was like, oh my God, what's going on? It's just the same way like we talk about Jericho all the time, and I love the story of Jericho. We talk about that how they marched around.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure them guys were, they were soldiers. I'm pretty sure they wanted just to go beat somebody up. God, just let's go in there and kill somebody. Why we got to wait on this? And so every day it was different, and we have this promise, and we have this, God tells us, and even like coming back, Christ coming back, the rapture, or whatever you want to get into, the doctrinations of that, is we know one day He's returning, and we know one day we're going to die, and we're going to go to heaven. Sometimes that's the hardest thing in the world too, as as Paul said, is to die is gain and to live is for Christ. We expect that. We know that's going to happen. So the promise sometimes is our hindrance because we expect it that day. We expect, God said, is you're going to do this, or this is going to happen, this is going to, okay, I'm going to walk out the door and it's going to happen. Well, it don't. And like I spoke about last week about temptation and about different things, going through tests and going through these things, the farther away we get from the promise, the farther away we get from the Word, the harder it is. And that's what God's really been showing me these last few days, is the farther I get away from it, the promise was there, the gift was there, and the farther I get away, the farther the time has been since, I don't want to say get away from, but the farther time has been since I got the promise, the harder it is to believe. Because you wake up every day thinking this is the day. This is the day of the Lord. He says sorrow at night, joy comes in the morning. So every day we wake up thinking this is the day God's promise is going to come. This is the day that I'm going to be delivered. This is the day that I'm going to have. And we wake up and it's not there. And we think, okay, God, maybe tomorrow. But we have that hope. And that shows the faith, as I've ministered before, and God has showed us before. We have to hang on to that hope. We have to hang on to what He's shown us, and we got to see that vision, and we got to see the promise. And the more time that passes between the promise and getting it is the hardest times in the deal. And as we see in this, in Exodus, and we see through the process of this, and I'm just going to try to go through some quick scriptures real quickly to kind of get to the meat of what I want to go to. But as we go back, and we see, in like I said, in chapter 3, when God gives the promise, He says, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to deliver the children of Israel. Moses, you and Aaron's going to go. And like I said, they get there, and I'm pretty sure they're expecting to just, walk out the door. We see in chapter 5, he says, no. Pharaoh says, who's this God? I don't know him. So then, like I said, Moses, he goes back and he returns to the Lord. It says, I love this part. It says in verse 22, chapter 5, it says, and Moses returned unto the Lord. And he said, Lord, wherefore hast thou so evil entreated these people? Why is it that thou hast sent me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in thy name, he hath done evil to these people, neither hast thou delivered thy people at all. Now, does that sound like us sometimes? Why in the world did you send me, God? Why did you tell me that I was going to get that when you knew that I wasn't? And so he's made, what's wrong with you, God? Why did you? I was doing good. I was had my little sheep. I lived on a little hill. I went to bed every night. And now I got Pharaoh mad. I got the people mad because I already promised them that, hey, God's going to deliver us. So it made me really think about that. It's like, okay, we do that sometimes. Like I said, we wake up every morning knowing that the promise is going to be there. Well, it's not there today. Well, God, why? Why ain't it here today? Well, you told me, 20 years down the line, we still are asking why. Sometimes we get detoured, or sometimes just like the word said with Pharaoh. He said he hardened his heart. He was going to let him go, and then all of a sudden, whether it was the Lord hardened his heart or just something happened, he's like, well, am I going to let all the people? That's my work. I have to start doing it myself. Bring them back. So we get into that concept of, like I said earlier, expecting it quickly. We expect it right then. God promised me. We got a word of prophecy. I got a promise. I got promises in the book, in the Bible, and He tells us all the way through the Bible all these things that He's going to do for us, and we expect it automatically. Yes. So we see, though, in the Exodus that it didn't come quickly. It actually came slowly. So God, and then in chapter 6, then the Lord said unto Moses, now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh. For with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And God spoke unto Moses and said unto him, I love this right here. It says unto him, I am the Lord.
Amen.
And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, by the name of God Almighty, but by my name Jehovah was I not known to them? And I have also established my covenant with them, to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord. I will bring you out from underneath the burdens of Egypt, Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with strength and out of arm, and with great judgments, and I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a God, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God, which bringeth you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will bring you in unto the land concerning which I did swear to give it to Abram, to Isaac, to Jacob, and I will give it you for heritage. I am the Lord thy God.
Amen, amen, amen.
How many times did he say I? He didn't say, Moses, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
He didn't say, Timmy, you're going to do it. He said, I.
Amen.
And if we can remember that, if I can remember that, when I wake up every morning and that promise that He promised me is not there, I can still remember that He is my God and my Lord and my Jesus, and I don't need anything else, then that is the promise that I have.
Amen.
And I forget that. I forget that He is I am.
Amen.
And that's what I want to share with y'all this morning, because it touched my soul so much, because I wake up every morning expecting a promise and it's not there. And then I get doubt, and then I get fear, and then I get angry, and then I start letting all these things come into my life, and then I start thinking, God, where are you? And then He says, I am the one that's going to deliver you, Timmy, not you, not your friend down the street, not your neighbor, not your brother. I am the Lord thy God.
Amen.
And if I can remember that He is I am, then man, it's all good.
Yes, it is.
Because the promise may not be tomorrow. It might not be today. But it is there because He is I am. And that's what He showed me. And that's when I read this. Out of all the times I've read this, I never noticed how many times He says, I am going to do it.
Amen.
I did it. I did this. I can do that.
Yes.
And if I can remember that He can do it, then man, there's nothing. There's nothing else that should matter. There's the anger and the pain and the hurt and all the stuff that we go through and all this, what I call a journey of life that gets all mixed up. If I can just remember I am the Lord.
Yes.
That's what we're here. That's what we're doing here, because we believe.
Yes.
Because we believe in Him. We believe what He can do. And it just touches my soul and just blessed me so much when I read the chapter 6 this morning again. It really opened my eyes. That He said, I am the Lord. He said it 4 times, and God did. Every time He said, I have also heard.
Yes.
I have done this. And if we can just get that stuck in our heads. But then it goes back to, like I said, it goes back to every day waking up expecting a promise. You know, the Israelites, I'm pretty sure there was 10 plagues, and I'm pretty sure every day after that plague, they knew it was going to be that day. Well, He's going to let us go today. I mean, God turned the water into blood. You know, He killed all the cows. He sent lice. He did all this stuff. They're going to let us go. But it didn't. Every day, every plague. With us, the same. Every day we wake up. Today's the day.
Come on.
And then when it doesn't, then we get angry, or we get disgusted, or we get tired. You know, I start myself wake up some days, God, I'm just so tired. Can it be today?
Yes.
But then the other thing that I remember, or that He showed me today, and I thought about, and this is what I really want to touch over, and this is the Passover, is they went through this every day. And the plagues every day. They went through all 10 of the plagues, and they did it. And God told them in chapter 12, and it said, the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto the beginning of the months, it shall be the first month of the year to you. And anyway, He describes basically the Passover. He describes what I want you to do, what I want you to say. And then in verse 12 He says, for I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. There's that I am the Lord again. He's going to do it.
Yes.
Not Moses, not anybody. And He says, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you, to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generation. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
Amen.
So when I was reading this again, like I said this morning, it made me think about, I heard a guy talk about, actually kind of confirmed me doing this message. I heard a guy talk about it Thursday. He was doing a kind of commentary on the Passover, and I never thought about it. But you know, through all the deals, it was always Moses and Aaron went. They talked to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said no, so he gave him a plague. So maybe the minister kind of mentioned that, in a sense, this was the children of Israel showing who they really were. I mean, I know they knew who the children of Israel. I'm not saying that, but when they did this Passover, it was a sign of them showing that they're the reason that all this has happened.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure the soldiers and all the other people kind of had an idea that it's your fault. Kind of like we talked about Jonah when they on the deal and they're having a storm and all the sailors are like, "Why are we having this storm?" And no, he's asleep. Or Jonah, he's asleep on the deal, and they're like, "Well, it's your fault." It's kind of the same way I was thinking, and I was contemplating on this. I thought, every plague, every day, the Israelites broke up and they thought, "Okay, today's the day," and it didn't happen. Well, they went back to their little huts, their little houses. Moses and Aaron had to go back to Pharaoh. So they knew who Moses and Aaron were, but they didn't know the rest of them. And it made me really, really think about that this morning. Sometimes God wants us to show the people that it's my promise.
Yes. Amen.
This is the reason that these things are going on, and why God's changing certain people's minds to give you a job
Yes.
or opportunity to move to a different place,
Yes.
or whatever it is in our lives. Someone to be quiet for a moment so you can have peace. Whatever it is, sometimes God wants you to say, "Okay, I believe.
Yes.
I believe in that promise. So I'm going to do this to show that I believe." And that's what the Passover was. It was in a sense, it was similar to our baptisms when we come forward and confess Christ, and then we get baptized and we show the world, show everybody that I am a believer.
Yes.
In a sense, that's what God's saying. It's the same thing with our promise. I heard John Osteen say one time that he used to always say when he got a promise, he would always say it happened. Like, I got me a new house. He ain't got the house yet, but I got a new house. And he said somebody told him one time, "Well, that's lying." He goes, "Oh, no, that's a promise. I know." And I really believe, and I really think that this Passover that's what he was saying. I'm gonna do this, but you have to have faith in me that I'm gonna do it. And you have to show everybody that you believe. And one thing that made me really think about was when the minister said, what if they would have woke up the next morning and it didn't happen? What if it would have been one more day of waking up where the promise wasn't there? Then everybody would have known that they were the reason why. Sometimes it's that waking up or doing it the night before, knowing that the morning's going to be the day of joy, the day of meeting, the day of going to the promise. And I'm hoping I get this out the way I'm trying to, but sometimes we have to show that we believe in that promise.
Yes.
We make a joke and we talk about it all the time, share the deal about the lady going to the car lot every day. But really that's it. That's putting the blood over the door, saying, I know God's going to pass over me. I know that, and I don't want to make light of Passover because it's a great thing. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm trying to say is that they had to show everybody that they believe that I am is the Lord.
Amen.
And that He is the one that's going to deliver them. And we have to do that. Whatever it is that we may have to do to show that we believe, whatever step we have to take, whatever pennant we have to wear, whatever it is, T-shirt we have to wear that says, "Not today, devil."
Amen.
Sometimes that's it. Sometimes that's it. And I heard yesterday that October the 4th is Take Your Bible to School Day. That's it. That's that moment where we say, this is it. Yes, I'm a believer. That's what that day's for. That's what this was for. Some days we have to step up and say, yes, I believe. I believe that He's going to pass over, and I believe that He's going to release me. And I believe that my promise is coming tomorrow. Sometimes that's it. So what is that? What is in your life, in your promise, or my promise? What is it that God wants us to do to say, okay, this is the blood. This is the Passover. This is what you're showing me that you believe that I'm going to let it happen tomorrow. And that's what God's telling me. He told me this morning was this, what are you going to do? Where's your blood? What are you sacrificing? And what's so cool about this sacrifice is he said that if you have a lamb and it's more than you have, then give it to your neighbor. You share the blood, share the sacrifice. And sometimes that's it too. But what I'm saying is that I'm trying to get out is that sometimes there's a moment in it. For us to receive the promise, we have to show that yes, we know that God is I am. That it's Him that's doing it and not me.
Yes.
And when we can get to that point, when I can get to that point and say, okay, God, I know you can do it. Show me what I need to do.
Yes.
Go back to the Lord just like Moses did. God, why did you do this for? And then he says, I did this, and I did this, and I did that, and I did this. And this is what you're going to do. And so finally, just like I said, all the other times the children of Israel didn't have to do anything. They didn't do anything. Moses and Aaron did it. They went to Pharaoh. They had to go back to Pharaoh. They had to go back to Pharaoh. The children of Israel, they stayed. Sometimes that's what we do. We just hide in a little house and let whoever, whatever, go do whatever. But then that one time God says, no. Today you're not getting out of it.
Come on.
Today you have to wipe the blood over your door to show everybody that you believe in I am.
Yes.
And then I'll deliver.
Yes.
Now I don't know if that's why all the plagues were done. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a scholar. I don't know why every deal happened every way. I didn't get blessed with that insight yet. But I do know, and I do feel it in my heart that was the moment when the children of Israel had to make that decision.
Yes.
Of today, who are you going to serve?
Yes.
Are you going to show Egypt that you're a believer and I am? That you believe in the promise of the new land? And he's telling us that. He told me that this morning. You need to get to the point where you can put it over.
Yes.
And you can say, yes, I am a believer of I am. And I'm going to be delivered, or I'm going to have that promise. I'm going to do this. Whatever it is He promised you, because He promised me stuff, and He promises you, and then there's multitude of promises in the Bible.
Yes.
And we're all, and His promises to us because we believe. But what I'm saying is, sometimes we have to splatter the blood. We have to sacrifice.
Yes.
We have to show the world that we are believers. And I've said this numerous times, and I keep saying it. It's easy back here. It really is. I love it. It's easy for me. Out there is hard. Out there is real hard. But we have to realize what is it God's wanting us to do. What is, because we have to. That old saying, I think Mom used to say it all the time. We got to put feet to our prayers.
Yes.
We have to do something. God's going to bless us, and like I said, He's not a bellhop where He just does whatever we want to do, but sometimes he just wants to see if you really believe, if you're going to take that step, just like Peter with walking on the water. Jesus said, come on out.
Yes.
You know what's so cool about that too is everybody, when they show the water smooth. No, it was a storm.
Yes.
I mean, waves. I mean, He's walking on waves. I mean, He's not just walking across the water, He's walking on waves. And sometimes that's it. It's just, come on out. Put the blood over the door. Wear the pennant.
Yes.
Carry the Bible to school one day. That's what it's about. And that's what He's showing. He's telling us is that the promise is there. And yes, some days we have to wake up every day expecting that promise. And it might not be there. And we wake up the next day. But we have to keep on knowing. Just like the children of Israel. And there's going to be a point when He says, okay, this is the day that the Lord has made. Now, are you going to put the blood and let everybody know that I gave it to you?
Yes.
Because that's actually what they were doing. They were saying, hey, this is my God's delivering us today. Tomorrow's it. We're going to pack up all, we're going to sell that, which they did. They sold all their stuff, gathered up everything, get ready, pack up and go. And that's what He's telling us. And sometimes we have to make that sacrifice. Sometimes we have to show people. We have to show the world that, yes, I believe, that I know my promise. I know that I know. And that's what God's trying to share with us this morning. It's just, and sometimes, when we tell other people or we share with other people, it ensures it in ourselves. You know, it really does. If I share with someone, hey, God's going to bless me with this, or God did bless me with this, or like our church, for example, we share with it. Yeah, I have a little small church right now, but it's going to be big. We're going to do mighty things. Not so much that it's going to be big, but we're going to do mighty things. And then I'm confirming what God promised us by word and by deed. I'm saying, yes, this is what I do, and this is what God's going to do for me. And I remember that He is I am. He does it all. And I just want us to understand is, and what God's really showing us is that there's so many things that He has for us, and so many things that He wants for us, that God, sometimes we hinder it. But like I said, I could keep on. I'm going to close with real quickly though, is Hebrews 10:23. And when I was doing this morning, I really wanted to get on the promise. Actually, I wanted to share more of God's promises to us. And like I said, there's I don't know what they said, like 7,000 or some promises. But as we know, a promise is a declaration or assurance of that a particular thing is going to happen.
Yes.
So, like I said, if I promise you something, I'll come by your house later on, and I'll come by your house. And He says that it's to give. I know, we all know what promise is. It's just if we have a person that promises something and they always come through, like I said, I'll come by your house and check to see what the water leak is, or I'll take you to the grocery store or whatever. And we constantly do that, then they're going to be assured every time I tell them. And say, hey man, I'll come by, or hey, I'll give you a phone call later on. And that's what God is to us. We're assured that He's going to do it. Whether it's through that we've seen Him do it for other people, or He's done it for us in the past. And like I said, the farther we get away, the more time that passes between our promise and us receiving it, the harder it is for us to believe it. And the bad thing is that we always forget all the great things that He did years ago or yesterday. We just focus on that one promise that He promised us, and it's not coming at the time we wanted. Then we're like, well, is it really coming? Or did I, the burning bush, did I misunderstand Him, Or like Moses said, he goes back, well, why did you send me if they ain't going to be released, And so like I said, we go through these deals, but if we know that God's good on His promise, then we should know that it's going to come.
Yes.
And that's the hardest thing. It's hard for me. I'm an impatient person. I get radical. But God just wants us to know, like I said, the other part of that is sometimes we have to show forth the effort of it. We have to show everybody that we know we're waiting on the promise and we know it's coming. Whether it is that we verbally show it or tell everybody, like I said, we're a pennant, we tack it up on the wall, whatever you want to do. But what I'm saying is you have a promise. God promised every one of us. And we have particular promises that He promised individually, that God give you a word, God give you a promise in word and deed. And He's saying, this is what I'm going to do for you because He loves you that much. I'm going to deliver you. I'm going to share you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that just for you. And those are the ones that we really have to stand on. Those are the ones that we have to know that we know that we know. No matter what else in the world's going on around us, we know. And like I said, sometimes it's putting that blood over the door will help that come. And so like I said, when I was trying to get all this together and I was trying to figure out, I really wanted this to go more on the promise concept of it, but God was wanting it to go more on the other way, as we can see. But I'm going to close with this real quickly. I don't want to keep going long, but I'm going to close with Hebrews 10:23. And it's just real quickly, and it says, let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for He is faithful that promised.
Amen. Amen.
And that's what it's really all about, is hold fast to it, and He is faithful that promised it.
Amen. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Just like in chapter 6 of Exodus, I did this, and I did that. And hold fast means to remain tightly, to secure it, hold on to it. And even if we have to wake up every morning not knowing if this is going to be the day or it's not going to be the day, we still know that He did it. Just like He said, and like I said in chapter 6 of Exodus. I love that. I never really caught on to that until this morning. I never really did. I've read it probably 1,000 times. I just never grasped me like it did this morning. I did this. I did that.
Yes.
I. And then it was like, man, I got to remember Him, not me, not this I, but that I.
Yes.
And that's when we really understand it. And that's what God really revealed to me this morning. That's why I want to share it with you. I hope you got out of it what He gave me, because it really did. It opened my heart so much to understand it's not about me. It really isn't. And I say that all the time, but really this morning I really understand it. I really understand that He can move people out of the way.
Yes, He can.
He can do things that we just, He never goes outside of somebody's will. He never will do that. He says that it has to be free will, but He can do things just like He did with Pharaoh. He can do little things. Well, they were big things, but He can do these things to people or places or whatever, just to open that door just enough. But then we have to put the blood over it. And we have to say that was my God. My God's going to do this for me. My God's going to deliver me.
Yes.
My God's going to help me. My God's going to comfort me. My God, whether it's, like I said, whether it's tomorrow or it's 10 years or it has to take 10 plagues to do it, He's going to do it. And that's what He's telling me this morning, and I'm sharing with you, is that it's coming. The promise is there. And yes, it's tiresome. And yes, we have to do all this other stuff that we don't want to do. And we have to wake up every morning wondering if today's the day. But if we know, if we keep in our heart and our mind that there is going to be that one day, then that's where it is. That's what it's all about. When we get discouraged and we forget that it's coming, and we act like it's not coming, then that's when the problem comes. And like I said, I could go on. I want to share one thing with y'all today. And I was listening to Dr. Stanley, I believe it was Dr. Stanley, I was listening to him. They were talking about his land, and we talk about Jericho all the time, and he was saying that they prayed, the Lord spoke to him that they bought up this land to add on to the church or whatever it was, and there was this one guy wouldn't sell. So God told him to wake up at lunchtime to get the board, I believe it was the board members, and walk around the block. Not to say nothing, just at lunchtime, just get up, all of them, walk single file around the block, and then go back to the daily deal. So he said he did it. 6 days. He did it. This guy, like I say, everybody stole, anyway, he says, I believe it was on the 7th day. I say I'm paraphrasing the deal, but anyway, he said on that day, the guy calls up, he says, hey, are y'all still interested in my property? He said he didn't have to say anything. That's what I really loved about it. Just like the walls of Jericho. He didn't have to say anything. All he had to do was know that one day, because he was promised the property and promised the growth for the church. He was promised. God told him that. And all he had to do was realize that one day he's going to wake up, he's going to put the blood over his door, and he's going to wake up the next day, and it's going to be good. And that's what I want us to get. And that's what God really showed me. Is just remember, if anything else out of this morning, and what I got out of it is, if we doubt, if we ever wake up one morning and we can't, we say, God, please, just go back to Exodus chapter 6.
Amen.
Read it again. I did this. I did that.
Yes.
I am. That's what He showed me this morning.
Yes, amen.
He did it. He'll continue doing it. Because see, one thing that I really hold on, and there's a bunch of debates on the concept of it, but He said that He is no respecter of persons.
Yes, that's right.
And I take that if He did it for somebody in the Bible or in history, then He can do it for me.
Amen.
Because if not, then He's a respecter of person. He liked them better than He liked me.
That's right.
And He says He don't do that.
No, we don't.
And that's what we have to remember. So He did it for him, and He'll do it for me. Not Timmy didn't do it. Just like He said, told Moses, Moses, you didn't do it. Aaron didn't do it. I did this. I'm the one that talked to Jacob, and you weren't even there. So that's what He's saying to us this morning. Like I said, if we have any doubt, any time, just turn back to chapter 6 and remember, I did it.
Amen.
And He did it, and He will. And I'm going to close with that for sure. And if y'all have any prayer requests, please come forward. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope you got out of it what I did. But it's not what I want.